Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video today, and I'm going to be talking about one of the most recent NBA trade rumors. Well, actually, this has been something that everybody's been talking about, the whole NBA trade deadline. And here's something that it's just something I've never really got to. And I think as more trade talks happen about this, certain player and these two certain teams, I think it's more likely that it happens. And I think with the Rui Hachimura trade that happened this week, I think. Earlier this week on Tuesday or Monday when it was Monday. It was Monday. That happened earlier on Monday. I think that it made this player, Jay Crowder, I think it made the list of teams after him down to two. Because I think that the Wizards were a team that were interested in. Well, I don't know if they were interested in him, but I do know that the Suns were interested in Rui Hachimura and were trying to do a Rui Hachimura for Jay Crowder trade. With Rui going to the Lakers, that means the Wizards are out on Jay Crowder. I'm sure there's some other teams besides the two contenders that I am gonna list that are obviously interested in Jay Crowder with the Miami Heat. His a former team. And the Milwaukee Bucks. I think those right now are the two most likely. I don't know, maybe some other, teams. I don't see the Grizzlies going after him just because he was a guy that already played there. I just don't see that happening. We did hear that the Nuggets are looking for some wing depth. I don't see it. I don't see the Nuggets. So looking at contenders, you got the Nuggets, you got the Grizzlies. I think the Warriors could be a team that sneaks in and gets Jay Crowder, but it's rumored that the Warriors are not going to do much in this trade deadline. So I think that really just goes – I don't see the Nets making a move for them. Maybe they could. I don't know. But I think the two best teams that have the best odds to land Jay Crowder are the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat. The team that we will be talking about is the Miami Heat. I love this fit for the Miami Heat. Obviously, he's already been on your team before. He was their starting power forward, or small forward, power forward, whatever he positioned. I think he played power forward, but he plays both. So, but I just don't know what the Heat were playing back then. I think they were playing him as power forward when the Heat went to the NBA Finals in 2020 against the Lakers and lost in 6. I think he left that off season. Yeah, he did leave that off season. He was not traded, if I am correct. He did sign a contract with the Suns and has been with them since. Played with the Suns. Next year, he goes to the finals. That's crazy how he goes from one team to the other. The team he was on before, they go to the NBA Finals, and then he leaves that team for another team, and then they go to the NBA Finals. But so he spends, his first year with the Suns. That was all great. It was good. Even though Cam Johnson was looking really good and looking like he was their future starter, and it looked like Jay Crowder could, end up losing, the position he was playing there. Then the next season, Jay Crowder's still the starter, but Cam Johnson is now looking really good. And I think going into this offseason that the Suns knew that their plans were to have Cam Johnson be the new starting power forward. I don't know where it led to them agreeing to part ways. But what I do know is that he's not going to be playing for the Suns again. And the two teams that are most interested are the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat. The team we're going to be talking about is the Heat, the team that he used to play for in 2020. I am correct. That was the only season he spent there. It feels like he spent so long because he was traded there before COVID. He was traded there right before, the season, stopped because of COVID. And that season was so long because he was on their roster. He was on the Heat's roster starting in like January or something. Yeah, the end of January or the beginning of February. That's when he joins. Beginning of February is when he 2020 is when he joins the Heat roster. He ends up not leaving there till October because of how long that season was. It feels like he was there 2 seasons because when he was there on the bubble and then when he was there from February to March, it feels those 2 different times feels like 2 totally different seasons, which it is the same one. So spent only a half a season, barely played like 20 games with the Heat just because of, what I probably played 20. He probably played 20 games because what did they play? 8 games in the bubble, and he probably played about 15 before the season got suspended. So he probably played about 40 games as a Heat, and probably would have played more if the season never got suspended, which it would have. So no more what ifs. But I do love him on the Heat. Let's look at what the Heat have done this season. They started off to a horrible start. We're playing bad basketball. Did have some injury problems, though. I will give them that. They had some injury problems. Butler was, inconsistent with health-wise. Now he's been fully healthy. Victor Oladipo, they got him back later in the season, or about November, early December, something like end of November, early December, something like that. And he's been looking like his best self. I mean, he's looking like his former self. The Victor Oladipo you saw in Indiana, which was deadly. I'm saying, out of like percentage-wise, I'm saying he looks like 85% of, that MVP type Oladipo. If I am right, in that 18-19 season, I think Oladipo was considered as an MVP candidate. That's how good he was. Or no, sorry, not 18-19, 17-18. When they lost the first round against the Cavs and LeBron. So what I'm saying is that you have an Oladipo guy who in his best basketball with the Pacers looked like an MVP candidate. And now he's starting to look like maybe 80%, 85% of that player that he used to be. After his serious injuries, he's had a couple bad injuries. His biggest injury was a torn Achilles, or he tore his ACL, or tore his Achilles, and then he had a couple, bad injuries. Nothing serious. He had some injuries. I think he had surgery with the Heat after his first season there, if I'm not wrong. He's had a couple other injuries, just a couple injuries, setbacks. I would say setbacks. So this Heat team, they've had problems this season with injuries, but there was bad play basketball here and there too. But a player that they lost in this offseason that I think they've missed deeply because of just this player's impact and the way their good defense, their, clutchness, and, get you a bucket at any moment. Yes, he might not be, the most consistent player because one night he'll go score 0 points, and then the next night he'll play a great defensive game, get some nice rebounds, and score like 11 or 12 points and hit some nice threes because sometimes he's like that. Sometimes he'll show up big. I mean, even if he scores 0 points, he's a big impact, and that is PJ Tucker. Just the way he plays defensively, and the way he is on the rebound, not only on the offensive rebound of the offensive board, but on the defensive end too. He is just very big for this. He was very big for the Heat team last year, and I think they've missed him. And yes, they have scores. That's lots of scores on the Heat. You got Hero, you got Butler, you got Bam, you have Tyler Hero. If I didn't already say that, Hero. You got Butler. You got Bam, like I already said. You got Oladipo. You got I think that's it. But you got a couple other good scores like Caleb Martin and some other decent scores. Max Strus is a good shooter. You have good shooters. You have good scoring. But the problem for the Heat is that I wouldn't say defense is a problem, but that type of PJ Tucker impact is what they've missed. And Jay Crowder brings that kind of impact. He's a good defensive player. He's a good shooter, good offensive player, good rebounder on the defensive and offensive end. Comfortable with some of these Heat guys. Played with most of them. Played with Tyler Hero. I'm not going to play with Duncan Robinson because he'd be a part of this trade. He played with Jimmy. Played with Bam. Didn't play with Victor. Played with probably a couple other guys on this roster. I just can't think of their names. I mean, there's probably a bunch of other players he played with. Probably about 2 other players he played with during that Heat Finals run. Just no one huge like that, like I mentioned. So, yeah, he's well known on this Heat roster as well. And I think he would help the Heat going forward in the playoffs. And especially, I mean, you got a guy in Victor Oladipo who's starting to look really nice. The things for the Heat are starting to make sense, and it's starting to look really nice. And I think that their team, by doing this trade, would even look better for their roster. And let's get into what that trade would be. With the Phoenix Suns, of course, where Jay Crowder is currently, I want to say playing at, because he's not playing. He's literally in Atlanta training, where he is rostered at. So yeah, he's on the roster for the Suns, of course. And here's the trade that I have kind of built together on the trade machine on Fanspo for this trade to go down. And so it's a little tricky. And it's crazy how crazy Duncan Robinson's contract is, but because of Duncan Robinson's contract, the Heat are actually receiving 3 players in this trade. It's just salary match players. So the Heat are receiving 3 players, and then the Suns are receiving 1 and 3 picks. And let's go over it. So the Heat are receiving, obviously, Jay Crowder, of course, who has been very nice for both the Miami Heat and the Phoenix Suns in the recent years. I think last year he averaged about 9.5 points per game. Great defensive player, great shooter, like I've already said. So you had Jay Crowder, and now I would say the Heat probably, with how loaded their roster is, would probably cut both of these players, maybe keep one. I doubt they would probably cut both players. So the 2 players that are salary matches for the 2 players that are salary matches for the Heat to make this trade work are Chandler Hutchinson, who has not played it. I don't if he's played at all. He's barely. If he's played a little bit, he's done nothing. I think he's averaging like 0.5 points per game. I don't think he's been on the Suns for that long either. So you're receiving Chandler Hutchinson. You're receiving Bismack Biyombo, who he's averaged 4 points per game this season, but he's starting to lose minutes because of him being like the 3rd best available center with the emergence of Jock Landale and then Aiden being the starting 5. He's about the 3rd best center on the roster for the Suns. So then we get to what the Suns receive. So you receive Duncan Robinson's contract. You see Duncan Robinson's horrible contract, which is his $16.4 million contract. Just awful. He's averaging 6.5 points per game this season. He's a good shooter, though. So that's good for the Suns. You're adding in a good shooter, which I think in this case, when you're getting rid of a guy who's not touched the floor for you at all this season, I don't think it's bad bringing in Duncan Robinson, because you have a great player in Chris Paul to give him the ball on catch and shoot opportunities. So I think Chris Paul can make Duncan Robinson a better player, better shot creations for Duncan Robinson with just of how good of a playmaker Chris Paul is. So you just got to figure that case scenario. So the Suns received Duncan Robinson, and then they received 3 picks. So they receive a 2023 first-round pick that belongs to the Heat, and that first-round pick right now it stands at 22. Could be higher, could be lower. Just depends on what happens with the Heat the rest of the season. This trade, and maybe possibly another one for the Heat, or maybe I would actually, I'd say if the Heat do this trade, I would say they would probably maybe be active on the buyout market. So in that case, I would say that the Heat would probably go up. I would say the Heat would probably finish with the 23rd or 24th overall pick. So in that case, the Suns get the 24th overall pick with Duncan Robinson. And then also the Suns would receive 2 second-round picks in later years, which those later years are better for second-round picks because they're easier to flip. So the first one is a 2026 second-round pick, and this one is very later. I'll probably already be in college by then. Yeah, I'll already be in college. 2029 second-round pick. Which, by the way, I'm a freshman in high school, so yeah, I'll already be in. Will I? Oh yeah, I'll be way into college. Never mind. I can't. Sometimes it's hard to believe it's 2023. So yeah, that is the trade. So Suns received Duncan Robinson, 2023 first round pick, which is good right now 22, could be lower, higher, just depends, and then also a 2026 second round pick and a 2029 second round pick. I say I don't think the Suns would be down. I think the Suns would do this. I really do. I think you're getting a good player, a decent player who has looked bad he's looked bad with the Heat this season. But I think in a change of scenery for Duncan Robinson, I think this could be a better place for him in Phoenix. So I think his play could change. You're also getting a first round pick. You're also getting 2 future second round picks. So if I am the Suns, I am going for it. But that's really it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on the trade idea, and peace out. Let me know your thoughts.